Here's my audience for tonight. So according to Nadia Kunang and her article, U.S. heroin deaths jumped 533% since 2002. Heroin users from 2002 to 2016 has jumped from 404,000 to 948,000. That eye-opening fact is in that same time period that the total number of fatal doses, related to heroin has jumped from 2,089 all the way up to an estimated 13,219 cases. So as a group, we are here to inform you guys, about this heroin epidemic that is affecting our country and our community of Youngstown. There are certain problems that are created through this epidemic, and we are starting to notice it more commonly, in our area. And we are here to tell you guys that, hey, something needs to change to, help fix this. So the heroin epidemic is a potential life-threatening problem, for our community and the members, and we need to take notice of it. And as a community, we see on a weekly basis, some of the effects that it's having. In the news, we see, whether it's a death or an overdose or a crime, there's something that we're seeing that's related to heroin too often, and it's, starting to get out of control. So through our research and collaboration, we have proposed something that is a solution to the problem and shows you guys what's at stake, in the present and in the future. This problem, affects a lot of people, and we hope by telling you guys a little bit more about this epidemic that it might open some of your eyes and cause you guys to do your own thing and maybe come up with something that can help our community. So clearly I've displayed that, there is a problem, and some of these effects that it's having on our community are increased crime rate. It is affecting mothers who are currently addicted to heroin, and it is affecting the children that they're having that have to deal with their guardian or parent who is an addict. Then there is the increased availability of it, and how it is affecting our police and medical units who directly deal with it on a daily basis. So I'll start by introducing one of the more prominent effects of the epidemic, and that is the increased crime rate. So the New York Times article tells us that researchers found that the incidence of crime rose sharply in periods of addiction and fell dramatically in periods of abstinence or minimal drug use. So like I said, there's a clear problem nationwide and in our community, and it is not only increasing the use of heroin, but the addiction part of it and the distribution part is what's also increasing, and that's helping to increase these crime rates. So in that same article, Dr. Ball, a former president of the American Society of Criminology, says he is very surprised by how much crime is committed by heroin addicts, and that there was a distinct difference between rates between an addict who was on and off the drug. Then there was a study done that showed the correlation between increased crime rates and heroin addiction. This was done by Temple and Maryland University doctors and or students. And how it differed from different studies in the past was that it showed the relationship on a day-to-day basis. So what crimes and who was committing them on a day-to-day basis rather than a weekly or monthly. Therefore the representation of this correlation was more accurate. So what that also told us was that some of these addicts, some of the crimes they're committing, are starting out or used to be more on a less violent side, and they were, stealing merchandise or money or jewelry to exchange for the drug, or they were stealing the drug itself or other prescribed opioids that they could get their hands on to kind of numb their addiction. But now we are starting to see more of a trend that is leading towards more violent crimes and different crimes. So like I said, there used to be more of the property crimes, the stealing, things like that. Now we're starting to see more of the trafficking, and what that brings with it is weapons, ammunition, and deaths by guns. Sami Ali says that the Department of Justice has taken notice of this ongoing epidemic, and they want to speed up this policy that they're trying to propose that would help states share information to help each other stop this trafficking, whether it's in state lines or over state lines, to help kind of control, this epidemic and kind of bring it back to earth a little bit. So like I said, Dr. Ball mentioned that there is, a direct correlation between, the increase in trafficking and increases in overdose. And something I thought that was interesting that he said was that if we can control addiction, it is evident that we will reduce criminality. So therefore, you just go right to the base, of this problem, and that's the addiction. That's the drug itself. If we can control that, the effects that stem from it, could start to diminish. So I've mentioned a lot of the crimes, that could be committed or that, are increasing because of the addiction. So how this kind of relates to our area, Youngstown, the community we live in, is that the Department of Justice on our website mentioned that back in August of this year, 21 people were indicted in federal court for trafficking heroin. Of those 21 people, 12 had 79 counts against them as a part of a conspiracy that dates back all the way to August of 2015 that entails trafficking and distributing heroin as well as possessing firearms and ammunition. Another 7 of those people in a related case got charged with just trafficking and distribution. But the scary thing is it mentioned the names of the people and what areas they were associated with. And, you saw towns like, Boardman, Poland, Canfield, Warren, the surrounding areas of Youngstown, these suburbs where, families are, they're more populated. And you start to see, it started in Youngstown, but it's starting to spread, and you have it going all over. And, a lot of these people were associated with the Youngstown and Ravenna area. And this large ring of trafficking, it's only the basis of what has become of this heroin epidemic in our area. It continues to grow, and it's getting more violent, and the increasing crime is, going through the roof in all areas, and it is time to kind of take notice on that and hopefully come up with something that can help lower it.
Now I'm going to explain to you the heroin epidemic leading to the rise in need of foster care. The number of children in foster care has been increasing dangerously, with Ohio having the highest number of opiate-related foster children. 50% of children that are in care are because one or both parents are drug addicts. The children of drug addicts are the true victims of the heroin epidemic, whether it is babies being born addicted to heroin or children that are neglected or mistreated. For children placed in foster care, the ultimate goal is to have them back with their biological parents. Statistics show that the worst thing for a child is to stay in foster care till they're 18 years old. Chances of not graduating and ending up incarcerated will increase if child stays in care. I also added on to the PowerPoint a picture of children in foster care. There is a decrease of children that are in foster care with their IQ. In 2012, there's 23,396 U.S. foster care children are in the U.S. foster care system. 25% of the youth aging out did not have a high school diploma or GED. More than 58,000 children in U.S. foster care are placed in institutions or group homes. On average, a child in foster care stays in the system for 3 years until adopted out. Last year, Mahoning County has 146 children in foster care. In Ohio, 14,000 children are in children's services, which jumped 40% since last year. Right now, there is more children in foster care than there is foster families. There is many regulation guidelines for foster parents. You have to be at least 21 years old, married for 1 year. You also have to have good mental and physical health, reasonable income. Also have to take classes on how to deal with children with behavioral or also issues with addiction. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, foster care reporting system states, as of September 2015, 32% of children were taken out of their homes due to drug abuse by a parent. The number of babies born addicted to opiates has tripled. These babies either sit in the hospital and never see their biological parent, or are adopted into foster care and helped through withdrawal. The number of foster families has gone down 25%. People are scared to take children in because of the problems that come with them. Foster children sometimes have behavioral problems and their own battle with addiction. There's a continuing recruitment of foster care, high demand for foster parents. Recruitment of foster care is continuing teaching the community what exactly means to foster. The goal is to find the children a temporary home until their biological parents or kin is able to take them back. We also did a social media page. A way we could reach out to people through social media would be creating a Facebook page, spreading awareness to our community. Our ultimate goal is to educate the facts of this heroin epidemic. The end.
Okay. PowerPoint. Audience. The number of women giving birth to drug-addicted babies is at an all-time high across the United States, but principally in our community of Youngstown, Ohio. This factor creates catastrophic effects on the woman along with the baby. The staggering rise of neonatal abstinence disorder, or otherwise known as NAS, which is the medical term for babies who experience withdrawal, has overwhelmed the medical system, and many intensive care units for newborns are at a capacity. The role of neonatal abstinence syndrome has soared by 400% nationally since the year 2000. This was stated by Hudick. In the United States, one baby is born with neonatal abstinence disorder every 25 minutes. When a baby is born with neonatal abstinence syndrome, they experience many symptoms of this condition, which include tremors, irritability, trouble sleeping, excessive high-pitched crying, diarrhea, fever, seizures, and tight muscle tones. This was stated by Logan. Many people look at addicts and assume it was a personal choice that got them into their situation, but many people don't realize that some addicts, in literal terms, were born that way. Oftentimes, women who are on drugs take them heavily while they're pregnant, and then anything that's in the woman's system, the baby intakes, and then the baby becomes dependent on the drug. Among pregnant women ages 15 to 44, 5.4% were current drug users based on data averaged across the last several years. And this was also stated by Logan. The constitutional view on prosecuting pregnant drug-addicted women is that advocates contend that because the Constitution does not differentiate among persons who are able to enjoy the right to privacy, the pregnant woman remains a person as defined and protected under the Constitution. Instances that would normally get an individual prosecuted, such as child abuse, child endangerment, substance abuse, manslaughter, and homicide, are not able to be charged against a drug-addicted pregnant woman because these mechanisms punish her for exercising her right to procreate. And this was stated by Little. Seeking medical care while pregnant and on an an illegal substance is not easy. Many institutions will reject a woman if they find out she is pregnant and there are still drugs in her system. I think they do this because to most women a baby is her prized possession, and she would never want to put that baby in danger, jeopardize their life. So if an institution sees that she clearly doesn't care about her baby, then that obviously means she doesn't care about herself. This is an extremely sad assumption to make, because oftentimes women want to get off the drug for the sake of their baby, but the drug is just so addictive, and it's a struggle to get off of. Next, we're going to talk about the availability of the drug and the increasing overdoses in our area.
These are my audience members. Choice. Hi, my name is Samantha Santor. I am part of Group 1. We did our speech over the heroin epidemic that's taking over the Youngstown area right now. So in the next portion of the video, I will be explaining how there's a very high increasing rate of heroin overdoses in the area, and I will also be talking about the availability of the drug and how easy it is for consumers to get their hands on. So in Youngstown, it's considered a drop-off point for opiates. This is mainly because we have connecting highways that all lead back to Youngstown. Also, we are the midway point for two very large cities, being Cleveland and Pittsburgh. So sellers from those two big cities will either meet in the middle, which is Youngstown, or they will come here to sell the drug. Packages from Mexico also ship straight to Youngstown. So the sellers in Mexico say that they ship out 21 packages every day. Only one of those packages will contain the drug, so it's very hard for investigators to figure out who the sellers are from Mexico. The heroin is also one of the cheapest drugs to get. Many people say it is the cheapest drug to get. You can get heroin for as little as $10, so money really isn't a big issue for most consumers when purchasing heroin. Researchers have said that on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the easiest, heroin in the Youngstown area is at a 10, so it is a very easy drug to get. There are 3 types of heroin. There's a white heroin, a brown heroin, and then also a sticky black heroin, which is also considered black tar. Black tar is the hardest type of heroin to get. The brown heroin, it's not that hard to get, but it's been much easier to get within the past few months. And then the white heroin is the easiest drug of the 3 types of heroin to get. So there have been 42% of overdoses in the area recently have either been from just straight heroin or other drugs that have been laced with heroin. Researchers have said that heroin is almost as easy to get as painkillers off the shelves. Many people have also told the researchers that it's just as easy to get heroin as it is for them to get the painkillers from off the shelves. There are also hidden websites that sellers have offering opioids. So these hidden websites, they're so hidden that investigators have a very hard time finding the websites, but the consumers, it's very easy for them to get to the websites. These websites are making the drugs much easier to get. Researchers have said that to get heroin delivered to you is almost as easy to get pizza delivered to you from these online websites. So ordering a pizza online is just as easy as getting heroin online. A lot of the heroin overdoses that happen in the area happen in parking lots. So in Youngstown, there are many vacant parking lots. So that's a big meetup spot for a lot of consumers and sellers. And most of the consumers that do get the heroin in the parking lots, they end up needing the drug so bad in the parking lots that they'll just shoot up right when they get the drug. So parking lots in our area have a very high rate of overdoses because they will just shoot up right when they get the drug from the sellers. In March 2017, there were 189 overdoses in the area, 26 being fatal, and the number just keeps increasing from there. So we just wanted to let everyone know how easy it is for the drug, how available it is to get, and the increasing rate to get it. So thank you.
Another group strongly affected by the local opioid epidemic, specifically with heroin and fentanyl, are EMTs and cops, essentially the people that are the first responders tasked with responding to these reported overdoses around the area. So this is a newer problem. Obviously, the heroin problem in general has been a lot longer lasting, but recently this year we started hearing about instances where cops and first responders, such as EMTs, would show up to investigate an overdose and are having symptoms similar to that of an overdose themselves just by being in contact with it, and that they're essentially receiving overdoses just from being around the drug because of responding to it. So, in an article from May 2017, article Ohio Cop Overdoses After Drug Stop, Are You in Danger of Accidental Fentanyl Exposure, by Chris Stewart, pretty much talks about how people other than law officers could be in danger because of this. So if you have certain officers who are responding to a call about something and having problems, is it also in more for civilians also in the area? Is it a problem for them as well? So this is for possible, it's cited for places such where the drug users use the drugs, as well as in hospitals where they're treated, or obviously in their houses if you're anywhere near these things, just in the community. So again, like I said, this seemed to be more of a pertinent issue that started earlier on this year, and that it was geared towards and focusing on first responders primarily. However, Stewart writes about in this article and talks about essentially the question then, if it's happening to them, is it also happening to other non-users who are just other civilians in the same community? So Stewart also then cites in the same article about how the fentanyl in this area linked with the drugs that we're having with linking to this heroin epidemic are actually similar and stem from same drugs that are used in elephant tranquilizers, and that studies done on those elephant tranquilizer drugs show that even just a little bit of it, the smallest amount of the drug, either absorbed through the human skin or inhaled, could cause an overdose and potentially be fatal. So this is a problem, again, because we've seen it happen with cops, so we can only assume that it's able to also happen with other civilians. And then that essentially what it boils down to is that people who could have maybe no idea about this drug or what's wrong with it could actually be overdosing from it without even being aware what the drug is, and that's just proof that how bad the problem really is. So then later in the article, to close it off, Chris Stewart cites a couple of statistics, including citing that fentanyl was responsible for 251 out of the 349 accidental overdose deaths in Montgomery County alone. So that was last year, meaning 2016, and that the numbers have only risen this year. And that the focus here, yes, it's a daunting amount of accidental overdose deaths in general, but the problem is that most of them are coming from fentanyl, which is what's around here more. So this is proof that with more of these opioids comes more of the accidental drug overdose, and that if this isn't proof that it affects more non-users than we think, then I'm not sure what is. And this should be nothing more than an incentive to continue to work towards the problem, because if this is proof that there is a drug problem that links to the people in the community, and in which case here the community is Youngstown, so something needs to be done about it.
This epidemic has taken so many lives already. It's time to make a change, say no more, and, protect and save a lot of lives that are being taken and harmed. As we previously stated, this epidemic is not only affecting our country, but more importantly, the community we live in. If we just continue to sit back and do nothing about this, the consequences will be very detrimental. Just to review kind of what we went over, so the increase in addiction has led to increases in crime rate over time. it has compromised the relationships between kids and their guardians because of them being addicts, and it is putting the lives of innocent babies at risk because of their mothers being addicts while they were pregnant or so on. And then lastly, the people who are directly involved with this epidemic, the police, the EMTs, firefighters, the personnel who have to respond to overdoses and crimes, they're putting their lives at risk. And, the availability of this drug is just increasing more and more every day. And, it's just creating more and more problems. Being aware of, what's going on around us, the problems in our community, will only make this community more safer and better as a whole, moving forward. If we can do something, work together, find a solution, implement certain changes, and make people more aware of this problem, hopefully down the road it'll go away. Don't let this lethal drug destroy our community and the people within it. We need to finally put an end to this silent killer. Thank you.